Te Aroha Trail goes from Cape Reinga down to the Bluff, and I'd been thinking about doing it for a while, and yeah, it just sort of worked out at the same time. One of the VSA volunteers was actually working with the sisters through Raw for PNG at the time, and I thought, look, it makes, if you want me to help raise awareness or even raise some funds, then I'm happy to do it, like use it as a platform for that. I think the thing, obviously, because we're talking about domestic and gender-based violence primarily, and I think for me, part of the reason I did it was that it's quite, I think it's an issue across like New Zealand as well as Papua New Guinea, across the two countries, and so it kind of resonated with me a lot. But especially in Papua New Guinea, it's a lot more open, I think, than it is in New Zealand. New Zealand, I get the impression it tends to happen behind closed doors more, whereas in Papua New Guinea there are occasions where on the street you actually see things like taking place. It's not necessarily trying to change the culture so much or changing like what's happening. It's more providing support to survivors of of those issues. So at the moment, the FMI Sisters Convent, they have a couple of rooms called the Bethany Institute, but it's really not that enough to cater for a proper what a proper women's refuge would normally do. They're still working on their training as well. So they've done a number of trips they've done one recently to Bougainville to help train in the running and maintenance of a safe house or a women's refuge, as well as they've also got a couple of trainers coming over soon to do some more training with them. They've done a bit, but yeah, other than that, there's not a whole lot of support, and that's one of the reasons that setting up these women's refuges is so important, I think. Basically, what the money will be going to, all the funds we're raising is just for the women's refuge, specifically for the buildings to be built, and then anything left over from that, if we were able to raise enough to actually build, would be then put into care packages for survivors, basically. Overall, I've really enjoyed it. There's obviously, I think what I found is it's a lot more of a mental than a physical, because obviously you have sore legs and blisters and stuff initially, but that kind of, after a while, probably after about 3 weeks, all of that's gone really, and it's more about like keeping yourself going. Oh, I mean, I've seen everything from like, I don't know, from, the tops of the Tararuas, like mountainous sort of terrain, to, your farmland and all this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, a whole bunch of different bits and pieces. I've really enjoyed, there's been a few sections, I really enjoyed the Tararuas down by Wellington. I think it was sort of like a taster for the South Island, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm not sure. 90 Mile Beach kind of ruined beaches for me a little bit. Like, there's only so much sand you can take before it's kind of like, oh right, get me off this, please. Yeah. And that was where some of the bad blisters were as well. So I've kind of got residual memories from that as well. But I was walking up the hill and this lady stopped, and she's like, "You want a lift?" And I was kind of like, "Well, don't know where I'm going, but sure, sounds good." And she's like, "Yeah, it's not a very nice day today, is it?" And I'm like, "No, not the best." And she's like, "Yeah, you wouldn't want to be camping out tonight." I was like, "Oh, well, if I've got to." And she's like, "Well, do you want to stay at my place?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, sounds good." And I get there and I'm like dripping and everything, and I was sort of like, "Oh, is it all good if like I have a shower or something?" And she was just like, "Nope," like straight face, like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I just didn't want to like make your house dirty or anything. And she goes over to this door, opens the door, and she's like, "Oh, because I've only got a bath." Like straight face, because I've only got a bath. So far we've raised about 4,500 on the Give a Little page, and on top of that there's been a couple of direct donations, so we've got about 5,000 total. We're looking at raising, so for the big fancy schmancy kind of refuge that they want, they're looking at about 400,000 New Zealand, which is quite a lot. But I've heard from them that actually if we got about 100,000, then they could build something sustainable with that amount. So we're still obviously a bit further off track, but I don't know, for me I found just doing the awareness is kind of, any little bit helps, I find, and it's like, obviously I'm just one person, so if I can raise $5,000, then awesome. Like, that seems like a good step in the right direction. So I start on Queen Charlotte, and then it's basically into the mountains from there. So you go the whole way down the Southern Alps, and yeah, so I won't see the coast for a pretty long time. And I think the biggest town the biggest sort of major town that I hit is Tekapo, which is pretty far down. So yeah, it'll be pretty isolated, I think. But I'm excited for it. See how it goes. Certainly a new challenge.